Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at circle graphs and answering some questions based on circle graphs. So here's our first question. Burlington Elementary School kept track of which lunch options were more popular with students during the year. So we have the burrito, which is 1/5 of the students like that option. Chicken sandwich was 1/10 of the students who liked it. Pizza was 2/5, and the hamburger was 3/10. So which list is arranged from the least popular food to the most popular food? We can arrange it mathematically with our fractions, or you can look at the size of each of the pieces. So the smallest slice is the green slice. That's our chicken sandwich, that's the least. The next smallest would be the burrito. Then the next smallest would be the hamburger. And the last would be pizza. So which option is that? Chicken sandwich first, then the burrito. That would be the last one over here. And just to be sure, I'm going to work it out mathematically as well. I'm going to make all of them into tenths here. So the pizza is 4/10 when I multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. The burrito is 2/10 when I multiply the numerator and denominator by 2. So that makes sense. We have 1/10, then 2/10, 3/10, and last is 4/10. All right, our next question. A survey was conducted to learn people's chocolate preferences. So we have white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate. The survey had 888 respondents. We want to know how many more respondents preferred dark chocolate than milk chocolate. So it would be helpful to know how many people responded for each of the categories. There's a couple of ways we can solve it. So we'll solve it this way first. We're going to take half of 888 to figure out the number of dark chocolate respondents, and that really means a half times 888, which is 444. The milk chocolate, we're going to take 1/6 of 888, which means I'm going to divide 888 by 6. And you can pause it and type this into your calculator if you like. We should end up with 148 here. And then we could take 1/3 of 888 to figure out how many responded with white chocolate. We don't need that information to answer the question, so I'm going to skip that for now. The last step would be to subtract 444 and 148. So we end up with 296. More students like dark chocolate compared to the milk chocolate. I am going to show one more strategy here. So I'll just draw a line here. And if we find the difference between a half and 1/6, and then take that fraction of 888, that would also give us 296. So let's just go through this quick. I'm going to make an equivalent fraction for 1/2. If I multiply both by 3, that would give us 3/6. When we subtract, we end up with 2/6, or 1/3. 1/3, sorry. Now if I find 1/3 of 888, that should be 296. So I'm going to divide 888 by 3. You could type it into your calculator quick. Let's see if we end up with the same quotient. And yes, we end up with 296. All right, next question here. Instead of having fractions as the numbers that represent each of these slices, we have percents here in this case. So let's see what this question is about. A beauty salon in Burlington has 6 beauticians that keep track of how often clients request each one specifically. So if the salon gets 100 requests in all, how many of them were for Kira? So we're going to take 10% of the 100 requests, and that's really 1/10 times 100. We end up with 10. So 10 requests are for Kira. Again, another one with percents here. 6 friends went on a road trip and kept track of how long each of them spent driving. The friends spent a total of 760 minutes driving. How much longer did Maria spend driving than Dakota? So we're looking at Maria's slice compared to Dakota. And I notice there's a 10% difference when we subtract the percents. So that means Maria drove 10% longer than Dakota did. So we're going to find 10% of 760. And you can convert this 10% to a decimal. You could put it in proportion form, the percent proportion. You could put it in fraction form. It's up to you. I'm going to write it with a decimal. 1/10 times 760. You could type that into your calculator and you end up with 76. So that means Maria drove 76 minutes longer than Dakota did. Another strategy you can use, you can find 25% of the 760 and 15% of 760, and then subtract those two amounts of minutes. You would also get 76 that way. All right, on to our next question. Again, another one with percents here. Oak Grove requires all dogs to be registered with a city and keeps records of the distribution of different breeds. So if 60 dogs are registered, how many more of them are bulldogs than boxers? So I'm going to use the strategy that I mentioned in the last question. I want to find 40% of 60. That'll tell me how many bulldogs there are, and 25% of 60, and then we'll subtract those two numbers of dogs. All right, so 40% is 40 over 100. We want to know what the part is out of 60. We're going to cross multiply 40 times 60 and then divide by 100. So that's 2,400 divided by 100, which is 24. So that means 24 of the dogs are bulldogs. Let's do the same for the 25%. So we have 25 over 100, which equals the part over 60. We're going to cross multiply again, 25 times 60, and then divide by 100. That's 1,500 divided by 100. So we end up with 15. So 15 of them are boxers. So the last step is to subtract the number of bulldogs and the number of boxers. And we end up with 9. So 9 more are bulldogs compared to boxers. And that's it for our circle graph. So I'm going to ask you to try it out on IXL. If you have any questions, please message me directly, or you can post it up to Google Classroom. All right, talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.